review. Just to let you know, I think I'm going to start doing regular videos again, so we'll see where this goes. Um, so this movie review is going to be of Terminator Genisys, the fifth in the Terminator series. Now, in case you're unfamiliar with how my channel does movie reviews, I tend to give two scores and then I give a global score. One based on if you were a fan. And I do this for comic book movies, but Terminator I feel has its own franchise fan base. And then I'll judge it maybe if you're just a random moviegoer. And I'll give you my take and combined score. Now, just a warning up front, there's going to be spoilers to this movie. I try not to go too in depth with it. Mainly I'll just end up talking about the first 20 minutes of the film in detail, just to get your juices revved for what happens, and then I try not to spoil anything if you haven't seen the film. Unless it's an older film or an animated movie or something like that, like an anime that I may review, then I give it all away. But, alright, so let's just jump right in. Terminator, the fifth movie of the franchise, Terminator Genisys. Pleasantly surprised by the movie. Didn't go in there with super high expectations for this movie. Wasn't expecting a T2 or even a T1. But I'm going to put this right under T1, and T2 would be my first movie. T1 would be my second. This would be my third. Now, it's funny, folks. I went in and I saw it this weekend, and it really was a lot of fun. Now, do you have to be an uber Terminator fan to watch this film? The answer is no. Basically, if you're like most of America, you've seen the first two films, and that's pretty much enough. I mean, primarily, this movie is a continuation, but also a retelling of the first movie. And or not a retelling, that's not the right word, but once I get into the story, you'll get what I mean. So basically, if you watch the first two Terminators, you're pretty good and you can follow it. You don't have to watch 3 and 4. But you could. I'm not going to stop you. But you don't have to. And you don't have to feel like, I can't see this film. I only watched the first two. That being said, I saw the movie in 3D. The 3D was excellent. There was a lot of depth to it, a lot of in-your-face stuff as well. And I think people have gotten so used to 3D that incredible 3D no longer impresses them. It becomes just part of the experience, which is, to me, in a lot of ways is good, because you focus on the movie and not so much on how things are. But I digress. All right, and this is worth watching in 3D. That's what I'll put up front. Okay, so let me just jump right into the story. So again, this is spoilers. If you haven't watched this film and you don't want to know, again, I'll talk about scenes in the first 20 minutes and the general story. Then stop watching now. Now, the Terminator series itself, a couple of things you have to know. Basically, you assume all the films have happened, and it's time again for John Connor to send Kyle Reese. First, it's time to end the war, and it's time for John Connor to once again send Kyle Reese back in time to protect his mother from a Terminator. And what happens is we get to see the final raid, and the first Terminator goes to the past, the Arnold Terminator. They get there in time for just to stop the Arnold original first movie Terminator, old school Arnold. And we see him land, and it's pretty cool. Then we see Kyle Reese, who narrates the beginning of the movie. He volunteers, and John sends him back in time. As we all know, Kyle is John's father, and sending him back in time to save his mother, and then ultimately die. And there's a couple of scenes in there where they're discussing what they want to do in the future, and a couple of touching scenes in there, and he kind of apologizes for what he was about to do. Now, important thing, things are a little different. As Kyle is about to jump in time travel, we see a Terminator come up from behind John and grab him from behind, and you see like red glowing something on him, and you know things are wrong. Uh, Kyle has weird flashes while time traveling, which is cool because we've never seen it from this angle. And he sees an alternate timeline where he's a kid living the good life, which he never had. We see the Arnold Terminator land. They recreate the opening of the original movie. For a second, I thought I was going to see like Bill Paxton back in there, but you know they changed it up a little bit. They reused the Arnold stock footage, I feel like, and it was really well done. And then just to see Arnold versus Arnold. There's an older Arnold fighting the young Arnold, and we get the idea that this is maybe this is the T2 Arnold. We're not sure. And Arnold, fights the other Arnold, and he's not as strong, I guess, because he's a little older than the younger version of himself. But he gets backup from Sarah Connor, who they have like 50 caliber slugs, and they manage to take him out. So they defeat the original Arnold. Kyle Reese lands in the past, only to be attacked by a T-1000, the liquid metal Terminator. And it goes from there. And they recreate some of the scenes of him stealing shoes and stuff like that. And one of the cops he ends up warning the cops that there's a Terminator out of them. One of them dies, one of them lives, and that becomes a point later on in the film. Not to give too much away. And you find out that the reason why the timeline is different, because all the movies have happened, things are a little different. Somehow, somebody sent a Terminator, a T-1000 back, or a Terminator back to kill Sarah Connor. And again, this is a big spoiler. This is the premise. So if you're not you should watch the rest of this part. But maybe fast forward a few minutes. But basically, that's what happens. So she ends up. Somebody sends a Terminator in the 70s to kill her, and this Terminator, the Arnold, possibly the T2 model, goes back in time and is her protector for that. Although his files on who sent him back are deleted, but he basically raises her as a daughter. They're well aware that Kyle Reese was coming. That's why they were there to save him. They're also well aware that he was supposed to birth, supposed to basically, him and her are supposed to get together to have John Connor. And then the movie has more action in it, jumps forward a little bit, but the synopsis is Arnold has a time machine, and he's going to send them forward to try to stop the apocalypse from happening. Only Kyle has flashes of memory of an alternate timeline, and he's like, dude, not 95, we're going to go to 2017. And after some fighting, they agree, and they time jump forward, and that's where the movie breaks away from the original, sort of, and goes its own route. Now, I'm not going to get too much after this. There's just a couple of surprises, where things are going, but basically, they have to shut down Genisys, and the Genisys program is Skynet, just with a funny name, just with the name Genisys. So, there you go. And that's pretty much the stories. Now, you have an aging Arnold, and by the way, Arnold makes the film because this is his fourth time playing the Terminator, and each Terminator is a different Terminator, right? So he plays them differently. Whereas this one doesn't have the drama of the first film, that feeling that things could go bad any second. It does recapture the fun of the second film, which I like. And he's closer to that second Terminator than he is to any of the other three. And, all in all, story-wise, the movie is very good. A lot of times in these type of time travel stories, there's a lot of holes in the story that you could drive a truck through. Just if you look at the third film, not to get into that, but that whole movie made no sense. It, but whatever. And it's funny, that third movie, they just needed to do like 3 things writing wise, and they could have made that movie make sense. They didn't do that, but in this movie they did, and they tied up almost all the loose ends. I'm not going to give it away. There is an extra scene, so if you wait for a few minutes into the credits, you get it. You don't have to wait to the end of the movie. In all, I loved it. I thought Arnold's acting again made the movie. The twist in it, although the commercials gave it away, and I'm not going to, was really cool. It's a shame they gave it away. I don't think they had to. I will say the Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese characters, I think the originals played them better. But I like these guys, their takes on it too. So it wasn't that bad. I wouldn't put that as a negative. So all in all, if you were just gonna go see a fun movie and you've never seen any of the Terminators, I'd put this and you like action adventure, as a sci-fi action adventure, I'd put this one up as a 3.5 out of 5. If you're a fan, however, of the franchise, and you love these type of films, I'd go the full notch higher. I'd go a 4 point, maybe I'd go 4. Maybe a 4.2 is where I would go. Not necessarily 4.5 stars, but 4.2. 4.25 stars. That's what I was giving, 4.25 stars basically. And if you put those together, it brings you back down to around a 4. Because the great thing is, you don't have to be an uber Terminator fan to watch it. It does a pretty good job. You really only need to remember the first 2 films, which is where most people are in that franchise anyway. Uber fans are gonna love it because I'm not a fan of reboots, right? I'm really not a big fan of reboots if the original story was good. I may like what they did with the movie, but usually story-wise, I don't like undoing a whole thing. This undid it with this movie. Kind of is and isn't a reboot at the same time. Same way the Jurassic Park film was. This is a sequel, and they went their own direction with it. And with time travel, you can do this. And I think they did a good job doing it. So this movie was a lot of fun. Again, my final score for this movie is a 4. It's pretty good. And that's what I mean by a 4. It's pretty good. It's not phenomenal. It's not going to change your world, but it's well worth the money. This is Alert Wolf. I think I'm saying I'm done. So click it up if you like it. Comment if you must. And please, please, please subscribe if you can. And don't worry, I am going to start putting out videos once again.